Hi, Shalom sisters. It's me, Sister Yeskaya, and today we're going to talk about polygamy, okay? Whether or not it is right for us in these last days. Now, this is obviously a discussion that has been on the table for years. Whether a man can or even should have more than one wife. Many have begun practicing this concept and many have rejected it. Okay? Is polygamy right? Should we embrace this way of thinking? Are women against polygamy operating in a Western mindset? Or has the Lord commanded us to operate differently in these last days? Today we're going to examine the scriptures to see what thus saith the Lord to us living in these last days. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. Life through a biblical perspective. All right, polygamy. Polygamy is the practice or custom of having more than one wife or husband at a time. And polygyny is polygamy in which a man has more than one wife. Okay, so in this instance, we're talking about polygyny, all right, which is it right for a man to have more than one wife? Is it right for a woman to marry a man who is already married? Okay, and we're just going to take a look at the scriptures and get some information from a few accounts that we can find hidden in the pages of this great book called the Holy Bible. Now, we're going to start with Abraham. All right, let's go to Genesis. I believe it's in chapter 16. And we're going to look at Abraham and Sarah, who were married long before polygamy found its place in their relationship. Now, the scripture says in the book of Galatians chapter 16 and 1, now Sarai, Abraham's his wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarah said unto Abram, behold, now the Lord has restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Now Sarai said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid unto thy bosom. And now she saw that she had and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. And the Lord, may the Lord judge between me and thee. But Abram said to Sarai, behold, thy maid is in your hand. Do unto her as it pleases to you. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. Okay, so we're going to stop there, and we're going to take a look at some specific information, at some specific pieces of information hidden in this particular passage that we just read. Now, we can see that as soon as Hagar comes into the picture as anything more than just a handmaid, okay? She comes into the situation now as wife. Immediately problems begin to arise. Hagar sees she has conceived, and now she begins to look at Sarai with contempt. And the scripture says that familiarity brings contempt. Okay, and I don't know what can make us more familiar with each other than to lay with the same man. There's a few things that enter into this marriage union through the addition to this household, okay, of a second wife. Number one, Hagar begins to have contempt towards Sarai, which is her mistress, because remember, she was Sarai's handmaid. Now, contempt or to despise her, that she was despised in her eyes, it says here in the Strongest Concordance, the Hebrew word is kalal, and it means to make light. It means swift, small, or sharp. Or figuratively, it means like easy or trifling, okay? It means to curse, swifter, light thing, vile, lighter, despise, abated. Ease, light, lighten, slightly, to make bright, to make or to bring contempt, to a curse, okay? So in this particular case, we can see that, you know, she was probably making Sarah feel like maybe she was cursed because she was unable to have a child with Abraham. And look, I just laid with him one time and I have already conceived, okay? So now Sarah goes to Abraham and she says, you know, I gave you my handmaid, and look, now I'm despised in her eyes. You know, my wrong be upon you. So now there's arguing, right? Because now she's arguing with Abraham. There's jealousy because she's jealous of Hagar. Because now Hagar is trying to make her think like maybe there's something wrong with her, okay? Because she immediately conceived, and why haven't you conceived all this time? And now maybe she can become like the first wife, okay? Because she's going to have Abrams's child. We're not sure what kind of dealings were going on between Sarai and Hagar, but the scripture makes it very clear that Hagar, her demeanor has changed, okay, towards Sarai because she lain with Abram and she conceived the first time. And we can also see now that Sarai's demeanor has changed towards Hagar, okay? And now she is upset with Hagar. Now she is jealous of Hagar. Now she is arguing with Abram. And, you know, it's just bringing a lot of contention in the household because of the second wife that has been introduced into this family. Okay? Now, this is just one account, okay? Stay with me because I'm going to bring this situation from a completely different standpoint from where it is always being brought from, okay? We're going to look at the scriptures, you know, in its entirety, but I would like to bring this particular discussion from a different angle on today. So stay with me, okay? Stay with me. Now, we've got revenge now, right? Because instead of Abram, okay, so both of these women now are looking to their husband for a relief, okay? They're looking at him as leader. They're looking at him as problem solver, okay? Get this situation under hand. She goes to her husband. She says, look at this, Abram. I have given you my handmaid as your wife. You know, she's despising me in her eyes. You know, it's making me feel a certain kind of way, you know, and you are not addressing the situation. So Abram says, instead of getting involved in the situation between these two women now, he tells Sarai, he says, you know, well, that's your handmaid. You see, now he didn't say, now that's my wife. He says, now that's your handmaid. Do with her as it pleases you, right? So Sarah, in her jealousy, in her revenge, begins to deal hard with Hagar, okay? And now we have a little animosity that is being introduced in the heart of Hagar because, you know, there's a disposition in her eyes towards Sarai. You know, she thinks she's better than Sarai now. She, you know, she thinks that Abram is going to stick up for her, which he doesn't. Sarah gets to deal with her however she wants to. And she notices that she still doesn't have a say, even though she is also called wife. So she flees from the situation. Okay, she runs away. Interesting, is it not? Let's take another look at another account. So now this is this one account, okay? Polygamy in this situation with Abraham and Sarah brought in pretty negative, a very negative disposition, okay? A very negative disposition. The two women were not getting along. The husband was not properly addressing, you know, situations that arose, and he gave his wife Sarai, right, a certain level of control over his second wife because originally she was Sarai's handmaid. Sarai took her handmaid, gave her to her spouse, and she was now called wife. Okay? But even though he lay with her, she conceived, and now she's pregnant with his child, he does not address her as wife. He addresses her as Sarah, that is your handmaid. Do with her as you will. Okay? We're going to look at the mindsets, okay, of brethren in these particular types of situations. What can you know, what is possibly going through the mind of those who are in these polygynous relationships, okay? How are they actually dealing with each other, okay, in their hearts? We can say all manner of things. We can smile and, you know, act like everything is okay. But the fact of the matter is, there are situations that are arising because of this particular act. Okay? These scriptures were written for us in this last day so that we can learn from the mistakes of our forefathers.